Okay, we basically finished the malacha of writing. So the next malacha we're going to learn is the opposite of writing, which is called erasing. Now basically, the time of the Bais Din, they used to write on the boards we learned, and they used to erase also. They had to erase in times, erase numbers that they wrote incorrectly or something like that. But because we learned that when it comes to laws of Shabbos, any malacha, anything which is forbidden, has to be constructive, not destructive. So normally erasing itself is a destructive thing. You're not doing anything constructive, you're erasing. We'll learn soon that there could be just erasing which is constructive. So therefore when the Mishnah speaks about the malacha of what's called mechik, the Mishnah, he says the expression, mechik amenas lichtev. You erase with the intent of writing. Because in the Mishkan, when they used to write the numbers on the boards, remember to keep them in the proper order, so if they made a mistake, they would have to erase it. But what was the purpose of erasing? To write a correct number. So biblically, it's only forbidden when you erase with the intent of writing. Or, the poskim say, it doesn't have to be for the sake of writing. What happens if I erase something because I want to make it better? Like there's a writing on the wall, okay, I want to clean the wall. So I'm erasing it, but that's constructive because I want the wall to look cleaner. So that would also be, even though it's not for the sake of writing, it's still a constructive form of erasing, so that would also be biblically forbidden. Now, rabbinically though, any form of erasing whatsoever, even if it's not for constructive purposes, are still rabbinically forbidden. Remember, we learned already that biblically, you're only chayav for constructive things. Destructive things are not biblically forbidden, but rabbinically they are. Because then you might do it for the constructive things, so that would be forbidden. So for instance, erase any legible script or any figure, even if there's no beneficial purpose for it, would still, like, again, there's somebody wrote a letter on the wall, okay, and you want to erase it, or there's somebody wrote on a board, and now you want to erase it because you want the board to be clean. So that's still rabbinic, according to many opinions, that would be biblical in that case. But even erasing a mark, there's an interesting difference. Let's say there's a mark on a piece of paper. Like somebody made a pen mark, and you erase it from a piece of paper which is normally used for writing, that would be rabbinically forbidden. But what happens if you have, let's say, a pen mark on your hand, and you want to wash it off? So it's interesting. If you would have, let's say, a picture on your hand, or somebody wrote 2 letters on your hand. Let's say somebody wrote on your hand Aleph Beis. Okay? Now on Shabbos, I want to wash my hand and erase the letters. So that would be rabbinically forbidden. I'm not planning to write on it. But that would be rabbinically forbidden because I'm actually erasing a legible letter or mark or whatever design. But if I have a pen mark, just somebody hit me with a pen mark, and I have now a pen mark on my hand, and I want to wash it off. So that's allowed. Why is it allowed? Because a hand is not something usually made to write on. So I'm not afraid I'm going to erase and eventually come to write on it. Because, one second, a hand is not made to write on. But a piece of paper is made to write on. So if I have a mark on a paper and I'm going to erase it, anything that's usually used for writing, then I wouldn't be allowed to do. What?
So you'd be allowed to erase hand marks on your hand. But let's say because you want to wash the bread, you have to
No, you'd still be allowed to erase it. Doesn't matter why you're doing it.
But if you wrote someone's name on your hand, you can't wash your hand.
If somebody wrote their name on their hand, or even 2 letters, forget it. They wrote Aleph Beis, or AB, or 2 vavs. Yeah, somebody made 2 vavs on their hand, yeah? You're not allowed to erase it on Shabbos.
What if you're just washing hands like he says, just got clean hands?
But you can't, again, it's rabbinically, We just said this. Because it's rabbinically forbidden, because there are two letters, or even one letter. If it's what's called a discernible figure, okay? So either it's a letter, or somebody drew a picture of a house, whatever, a person, yeah? Or somebody wrote a phone number. Before Shabbos, you wrote a phone number on your hand, yeah? And now, you want to wash it off on Shabbos. You wouldn't be allowed to.
No, you don't want to wash it up. You just want to wash your hands with soap. You came from shul.
But if there's a thing on it,
So
you can't. You can't wash your hands.
You need to have your hands free of ink in order to wash things up and down.
Yeah, unless if you don't care about it.
Can you wash the bread?
Well, that's the question. Is it called a chatzitza? Because if you care about it, then it would be a problem halachically. So then what would you do with Shabbos? So that's a whole different story of washing for bread. So it would be a complicated story. That's why before Shabbos you should make sure you don't have anything written on your fingers or your hands.
But you're not actively wiping it off, and it's not really necessary when it come off, and then you just get faded.
Fading is also erasing. Erasing something that you're fading it. So you have, let's say, a letter, a pencil, yeah? You could erase it. Sometimes you can erase it completely, or you can just erase it that it's faded. That's also erasing in Shabbos. It's rabbinically forbidden, but it's still forbidden.
But also taking a picture, is that considered
Taking a picture,
with a camera or something?
that's writing, amongst other things also. No, I mean, it's digital, it's electricity, there's a lot of issues. But yeah, it's part of the writing.
Let's say, I came in a situation, let's say you're walking through on Shabbat, and then there's a car trying to pull out. And usually you have those, the screen on there.
Rearview mirrors, yeah?
And in the car, they have a beeping, it tells you there's people behind you. If you walk behind the car, you're causing people, right?
No, you're not doing anything.
If you're not writing and then you put gloves and you do
So there are opinions that if you can't wash for bread, and if you put a glove on or you don't touch the bread, so in Shulchan Aruch, the Alter Rebbe holds of it, and Siddur, the Alter Rebbe doesn't hold of it. He said you can't rely on that heter. So then you would have a problem. What to do? You'd have to have cake for Makam Su'udah and whatever. It'll be interesting. That's what you mean. Yeah, people have to check their hands before Shabbos, make sure there's no writing and there's no engraving, whatever. But yeah, then you have a problem. So you can't, even if he does not intend to write anything, but if it's just an ink stain, which is not a figure or a letter, just an ink stain, then you're allowed to wash it off. You can't use hot water, obviously, but you can use cold water. You can use liquid soap. If it's not creamy, liquid soap, and you can, with your finger, you could rub it off. Because again, on a paper, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. Because a paper is a thing made to write on. So even a drop of ink would be, because now you're preparing the paper to write. But on a hand, because it's not normally written on, so then that would be allowed. Ink would be a chatzitza if you care about it. Okay, so basically, anything, again, erasing is the opposite of writing. Anything that you're not allowed to write on Shabbos, you wouldn't be allowed to do it. And you could do it anyway, erasing it. You use an eraser, washing it away, cutting it, tearing it out, blotting it with ink. Let's say you have a letter, yeah? And you take ink and you cover it with ink, so now you don't have a letter. That's still erasing the letter. Or the sfig by writing over it. I'll give you an example. Remember we were learning in writing that if you have, let's say, a Scrabble set with the grooves, or you have icing on letters on a cake. Somebody before Shabbos, they took a name, Avraham, and they wrote Aleph letters. They took Aleph letters and they put it into the cake, on top of the cake, but it's in the cake. So we learned that's writing because now it's holding firmly, right? If you just take letters and you put it here on this table, nothing's going to happen. You're not doing anything. So then, if you would take off those letters, that would be rabbinically erasing. Or if you have a Scrabble set with that the letters go into a groove, so we learned you can't put them in there because that's writing, but taking them out would be erasing. It would still be rabbinically forbidden. So it's rabbinically forbidden. If it would be permanent, it would be biblically forbidden. But because it's still rabbinically forbidden, so you wouldn't be able to do that. Or let me see what else he says here. Okay. But again, if you cut letters, let's see, there's letters written on a cake, not in script, but printed letters, and there's space between the letters, so you'd be allowed to cut the cake in between the letters. Or if you cut off, again, like it was mentioned before, you have to be careful, because a lot of times you just cut off the frosting with the letters on it, the letters will get erased anyway. Because then, let's say you cut off a piece of cake with it, and now the letters are not getting erased, so that you'd be allowed to do on Shabbat. What?
That's not separated.
No, because you're separating the thing itself from itself. That's not called separation. It's not two things, one from the next. And by the way, you're taking, it's not separating either. I'll give you an example. You're allowed to eat an orange on Shabbos or a banana.
That's peeling.
Why isn't peeling separating?
It's not separated.
What does that mean? You're right. You're all right. Derech achila. But what does that mean?
That's how you eat it. That's the way to.
So then nobody's going to say, I selected the peel off the banana, or I selected the peel off the orange. There's no other way of getting to the orange besides peeling it, or there's no other way of getting, unless you're a monkey with the peel on. But if you're a person that normally doesn't eat banana peels, so then in order to get to it, that's the normal way of eating it. It's not called selection. Okay? So therefore, if that's the way you have to eat it, it's not selection. But if you have, let's say, pits in a fruit, like in a watermelon, the question about watermelon, I'm just using this as an example. If you have pits in a watermelon, yeah, seeds in a watermelon, you take them out, according to many opinions, it's better. What? You have to?
You don't separate the pits.
Yeah, there are opinions that hold right before eating you could do it, but Ashkenazic Jews eat what's called gefilte fish on Shabbos. Okay? Now, there is no species called gefilte fish. You don't catch gefilte fish in the ocean. Gefilte, by the way, is Yiddish word for filled fish. It's filled, there's something in it. Now, one of the reasons why Frumme Yidden eat gefilte fish on Shabbos, because when you eat regular fish, there's always bones. So now the question is, are you separating the bones from the fish and the fish from the bones? So you really have to separate the fish from the, we'll get there. We have to separate the fish from the bones, even though the Samach Tzedek was very lenient in that. But generally speaking, you have to take away the fish from the bones, not the bones from the fish. So because such fish is a hassle, depends, some fish like salmon, it's much easier to eat, there's less bones, but certain fish have a lot of bones in them, right? So then that's why the old tradition of Ashkenazic Jews is they eat gefilte fish because there's no bones, because it's ground up fish with whatever it is, there's no bones. So you don't have a problem of selecting on Shabbos. That's the source, by the way, of Ashkenazim eating gefilte fish. That's what?
I have a fresh set of raisins. Do you have like some type of food?
A what?
You have food in the package, You want to just tear between the levels.
Okay, so if you want to tear, it's good. We'll just start this because tomorrow we're going to continue this. What happens if you have a package you want to open for Shabbos? Okay, so let's give a simple practical example. You have a potato chips bag. Okay, now normally how do you open it during the week? You pull it apart. Okay, that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. You cannot pull it apart because you're not destroying the bag. And you're actually separating two pieces which were glued together. So you're separating them. And it's not in a destructive way. Okay? Because you're not ruining the bag. So if you want to eat potato chips on Shabbos, so you can have a million other examples. Again, tomorrow we're going to get later already. But, so you can cut it with the scissors, believe it or not. You can cut the potato chips in a way, but you can't cut letters. Now, you can cut between letters, but you know, it depends how close the letters are to each other. It's sometimes you have to be an Einstein in cutting, that you can cut between the letters without actually cutting the letters. To be continued.